ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथिता पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी. Let me read. So we are here, there is no possibility of association or dissociation for Atma.
There is no possibility of association or disassociation for Atma. Is it clear, Swamiji? Reading?
Yeah, very clear, very clear.
Okay. Then he points out the impossibility of association or disassociation for Atma because it is not subject to change, and being free from form like space is all pervasive. But space is only relatively all pervasive because it has no existence without Atma, while Atma is entirely independent of space. Any type of association or disassociation is impossible for something that has no form. For example, with what can space associate itself? Being all pervasive, it can never dissociate itself from anything or be associated with a particular thing to the exclusion of something else. Similarly, the Jnata, correct Swamiji?
Correct, Jnata.
The Jnata has no attribute and does not assume attributes due to association. Not only does he gain mortality,
Not gain, does he not gain?
Not only does he not gain mortality, fatness and so on due to association with the body, he does not enjoy happiness and sorrow, desire and aversion or any other attribute of the mind. Being all pervasive and formless, space cannot associate with anything. Unless there is some rudimentary form, there cannot be any contact, so gaining an attribute by contact is not possible. But if even space cannot be polluted, how can Atma, in which space resides, be tainted by any type of contact? Atma is the only thing here, the basis upon which everything is superimposed, and what is superimposed does not come in contact with or enjoy the same order of reality as its basis. What kind of association does the rope have with the snake? Between something real, Satya, and its dependent reality, Mithya, there is no question of any association. The self remains free from any attribute and is indeed not different from Ishvara, the cause of creation. So the fact that Kshetrajna is not different from Ishvara is established. The Smriti, quoting Krishna as Ishvara, says the same thing. Because it is beginningless and free from attributes, Anaditvat, Nirgunatvat, this limitless self, which is not subject to decline, even though obtaining in the body, does not act and is not affected by action. Arjuna, Paramatma ayam avyayah, Sharirastopi kaunteya, na karoti na lipyate.
Yeah, this is coming later. It will come.
Okay.
This is also coming in the Isavasya Upanishad. Na karoti na lipyate. Na lipyate meaning nothing gets attached. So Paramatma ayam avyayah meaning it is not subject to change. Vyayam meaning changing. And that too basically only if you have if you have limbs. So Niravayavaha and Avyayah is one of the same. Niravayava meaning no limbs. If there are no limbs, there cannot be any change. No form, no sphere, no no attribute means it cannot change. So since it cannot change, even though it is there in every sharira, it is not associated with any karma, karoti, na lipete, nothing gets associated with it. That you will tell later also, that is quoted now. Yeah.
Gita 13.31.
Yeah, it is coming.
The one who obtains in the body as the essential nature Swarupa of the knower neither does any action nor is he affected by the result of action. Being always asanga, unassociated, he is neither karta, the agent, nor bhokta, the enjoyer. Since Shankara quotes Ishvara directly, not only the Smriti but the Sruti is also implied. The statement of the Upanishad says the self is witness, consciousness, non dual, and without attributes. Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirgunascha.
Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirgunascha. That is coming in the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Basically, it's all since all Lakshana of Atma. Sakshi. Listen, Sakshi also. Sakshi means basically witness. So it is only, even though it is there in each of the sariras, it doesn't do anything. Just it is there. By being there, it is a Sakshi. It is not by, like generally Sakshi means witness. It has to witness with some perception, some hearing or something. No, by just being there, it is a Sakshi. And Cheta, just by being a conscious being, some Chaitanya, Cheta, Kevalaha. It is one and the only one. There is nothing, you cannot compare it with any other thing. And Nirgunascha, which we have discussed. It does not have any form, any attribute. So that is how Atma is discussed in the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Sakshi, Cheta, Kevalo, Nirgunascha. Yeah.
Svetasvatara Upanishad. Here it is said Shastra, etc. Oh, I'm sorry, only 25. So, Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.11. This statement, because it belongs to the Shruti, is as good as a statement by Ishvara himself. The nature of I for Ishvara and the Jiva is one and the same. Individuality is only a point of view that is incidental, not intrinsic to Atma. It is by nature free and limitless. This being identical to the nature of Ishvara, Atma is not other than the cause of creation. Object by an Atmavadi.
Objection by now.
Objection.
There is an objection by an Atmavadi.
Objection by an Atmavadi. If Kshetrajna is free from samsara, then Shastra will be useless. A question is raised here by an Astika, a person who accepts the Veda as a pramana, believes in Punya Papa and the survival of the soul after death. He is also called an Atmavadi. His contention is that if the Kshetrajna is essentially free from samsara, then the Shastra, etc., here it is said Shastra, etc., it is said so to include the Shastra, the Upadesha, the teaching, and the Guru, Shastradi.
Guru, Sishya, Shastradi, it comes everything all included. Yeah.
Shastra, etc., will be useless. Since Atma is already free from samsara, there is no scope for Shastra. It is meant to release the individual from samsara, the experience of limitation from which one suffers. When one is already liberated, there is no subject matter for the Shastra at all. Since every Jiva is already Ishvara, there is no bondage to be released by the Shastra. If you are already Ishvara, what are you going to gain from that, the Shastra? If there is real bondage and liberation, then Shastra has a subject matter. If not, there is no necessity for a guru because there is nothing to teach, no upadesha. There is no sadhana because there is nothing to be gained, sadhya, if you are already Ishvara. This is a serious fault. If Shastra has no purpose, one can ask further, why write this commentary on it?
It's a general, even though it is a Purva, this question is relevant to all of us. It is a question for all Astikas. So this question will be very relevant to all of us. So the answer will be also relevant to all of us.
Shankara answers.
From there.
Shankara answers, the same defect will be applicable to you too. Shankara answers that this is not a valid objection for all Atmavadis accept the Shastra as the pramana for release from bondage. Therefore, this fault is applicable to them also. When one gains moksha, there will be no samsara and Shastra is no longer useful. It has served its purpose. By all those who believe that Atma survives death and that there is bondage and release, this fault of the uselessness of Shastra is incurred. If even after gaining moksha, one continues to study Shastra, that moksha has no meaning. Shankara says it is true that once liberated, there can be no bondage and the Shastra naturally becomes useless, having served for the purpose. Then the
Swamiji,
Atmavadi.
actually, how you can say that a person who has got liberated, I agree, samsara is not there, but how can you say he has no shastra, Swamiji?
The sense he will, in the sense for Shastra is not useful to him. What he said is no longer useful. Useful meaning he does not have to use it to gain something because he already gained. What is to be gained is already gained. Now Shastra will be relevant only to the extent that he can share it with others, how he got it, so others also can get it. That way he can make it Loka Shankarartham, yes. But for him it will be no longer useful. Like once you have used a boat and crossed and goes to the shore, thereafter that boat is not useful for you, but it will be useful for others. And you can tell them also, you can guide them also how to go from this place to this place, like that. So that is what it means.
And one more question is, I remember we read from book 6 we are reading about sannyasi, people in samsara, people not being in sannyasi but also practicing these things to basically to follow all these things that we are learning right now. So my question is this concerned topic that is mentioned here is talking about sannyasis in particular or generally, Swamiji?
No, see, now the topic is, he is explaining what is Kshetrajna and Kshetra. Kshetrajna is Atma, Kshetra is everything else. That is how the Gita defined, and there is a reality, there is a definition. So, once when we are explaining, once a person knows his Swarupa is a Kshetrajna, Swarupa is spaceless, timeless, objectless, Atma, the being. For such a person, his reality is known to him very clearly. Everything, the whole world which he will deal with, he will know that they are all Kshetra. Kshetra means a field of activity. So, in the field of activity, what are all the things to be done, it will be done. That's it. But as far as he is concerned, he is a Kshetrajna, because of his understanding of the reality of his self and Ishvara, he is Mukta Purusha. He does not have anything else he doesn't seek anything. He is no more a seeker. Because the truth is already known. But he will be moving in the society as like everyone else in terms of being useful, doing wherever, whatever is appropriate to a given situation, he will continue to do that. So that way his place in society will be, that is what the Shastra tells, Jadaval Lokamachare, meaning he will be like everyone else, he will be moving, and only that he will not have an agenda, because he does not have whatever need to gain in life, he has already gained. So he does not have an agenda. He will be helpful to that extent. If he cannot help, he will keep away. That's it. That is how he will be. It is, even we have seen in the second chapter, Atmani Atmana Tushtaha Stita Prajnastu Uchate. He will be a happy person and just doing whatever needs to be done, whatever is appropriate to a given situation. That's all. There is no, it is meant for all. Any person who understands this is meant for him. The people who wants to seek to understand this is meant for him. And that includes all human beings. As far as we are concerned, every human being, the only agenda, even this video talk which you are displaying now, Essence of Gita, Swami keeps on insisting on that. It is meant for all human beings. For all of us to understand, we cannot say that, no, I don't want this understanding. You cannot say that, because whatever you seek, you think that you are seeking something else. But actually you are seeking this only, but you don't know. So your seeking is not going to stop. So better to know what you are seeking, the reality of it, rather than in a blind alley keep on bowling. It doesn't work. No, we say no. There is a language, in English also there is a language. No point in bowling in a blind alley. You must know what you are doing. So that is precisely this is what we are trying to do.
And this Atmavadi that is being mentioned here is little confusing.
Because he thinks that every person person, whether it is Dvaiti or anyone, every one of us is Atmavadi.
Okay.
But our understanding of Atma is different. That's why. That is why we impose limitations on that. So as long as we understand better and better, the limitations will go. Finally, it will come to only Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam, timeless, spaceless, objectless being is the reality. Till then, it will keep going like this. It will go on like this. Yeah.
Then the Atmavadi does not accept this and says that it is not acceptable. His claim is that Shastra is useful because it gives moksha, but it is not correct to say that there is no samsara. Only the Advaiti says that, and therefore only for him Shastra is useless. Most of these Atmavadas are religions, and therefore they must necessarily present a concept of moksha, a release for the soul. This release, the absence of samsara, is the desired end. But they do not accept that Shastra is useless even after moksha. Once the desired end is achieved, it is no further use to that person who has gained moksha.
Uncle, we are in Venkat Uncle. We are in chapter 13.
Page number 307.
Page 307, chapter 13.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Once the desired end is achieved, it is no further use to that person who has gained moksha. Once Chaitanya realizes his oneness with Ishvara, the Shastra has fulfilled its purpose and is of no further use to him. It is like a boat that helps you cross the river. Once you are across, you have no further use for it. Similarly, Shastra having given you the vritti necessary for destroying the ignorance of Atma, being Brahman, the cause of everything. When Shastra is addressing an ignorant person, it has a purpose. Even for the dualist, only in the state of bondage is Shastra useful, and not in the state of liberation. For them, these two states are real. The individual is seen as a real entity, separate from every other individual, from Ishvara and from the world. This bondage is real, and therefore he is enjoined to do some real karma, whereby he earns real grace, through which he gets real moksha, which is conceived of as some beatitude bestowed upon him by Ishvara. Accepting for the time being his concept of moksha, Sankara says that both the Atmavadi and the dualist, Dvaiti, have to agree that the Shastra has no usefulness when there is no bondage, samsara.
Dualist Dvaiti, Swamiji.
Yeah?
Dualist Dvaiti. What is that?
Dvaiti is anything. Anyone for whom Jiva and Ishvara are separate. The Ishvara is separate from, that is called the sense. And naturally, once Jiva is separate from Ishvara, every other person is separate from other person. So the whole world becomes real. Once Ishvara is separate from you, Ishvara is nothing but the world. All that is here is Ishvara. So everything else is reality. You are also one of the realities. That's all. So everything is real. So all transactions. So dharma becomes very important. Karma becomes important. Punya important. Papa important. So everything is real. And they go. Generally, all of us start life as a Dvaiti only. Even as we transact right now, you and I are talking to each other. But once the understanding is there, then this is only like a movie or a dream or only for transaction, for the purpose of transaction, not in terms of seeking. The reality is already understood. So this question is purely a question of discerning and understanding. Kshetrajna is only, nothing changes, only the understanding. So your seeking stops. That is what is called moksha. The freedom with which you approach life is called moksha, and that comes with understanding, discerning. So that what Vedanta, the Shastra talks about is the discerning the reality. So if you don't understand the reality as what is presented by the Shastra and what is your reality, right now the reality, if you are not understanding, that is Dvaita only. Because Advaita is Shastra, Advaita is the reality. But for the philosophies as well as the religions, for them, Dvaita is their philosophy. Even though Visishtadvaita also, Ishvara and you are separate only, Dasa, Dasi, Bhava. You can be only a spark, Ishvara is like fire. So, Vispulinga, etc. All those things is, there is a separation. There is subordinate, what they call, what you call, Yajamana and the slave. Dasa, Dasi, Bhava. That is what is there. That means that as long as, that is what is, the Shastra says, Udaram Antaram Kurute Adatasya Bhayam Bhavati. As long as even the slightest separation is there between the reality and you, so naturally you will feel uncomfortable. Till the time you understand that. So that separation alone, that is why it is non-dual. Duality is not the real. That is what I have said to Advaitam, what it means. It includes all philosophies, but reality is not looking at life as duality. That is called reality. Now that is Advaitam. So there is nothing called Advaitam separately. It is only understanding the reality of life. That is what it is. Yeah.
Because I was thinking duality, Dvaiti means Visishtadvaitam and.
Yeah, everything. These are all philosophies, including all Western philosophies and all. Everywhere, for them, the world is real. Science also. Science also is the biggest Dvaiti. Because unless they empirically find something, they will not accept. So they are not, even though they find empirically, they are not finding anything. The smallest particle is not also found. So they have given up almost. But they cannot say Advaitam is reality because there is no empiricality for it. Because Desa Kala Vastu Aparichan, timeless, spaceless object, how can they? There is no experiment possible, nothing. So they have to only you are the only proof for that. You cannot give proof outside of you. Science has to give outside of the experimenter or the research scientist has to give a proof outside of him. That is not possible because he is the only proof. So that is the irony of it. Yeah.
Swamiji, I have a small question. Can I say that Dvaiti, for example, I see something and I get irritated. So the body, that is BMS, is getting irritated.
No.
And the Atma is different. So Dvaiti.
BMS, body, mind, senses will not get irritated. They are jadam. They have no emotion. You have the emotion. The problem is that what is not there, an association which is not possible. That is what the Brahma Sutra also says. The sambandha between you and your body, mind, senses is adhyasa. Vidyaya sambandha. Adhyasena sambandha. There is kinchit bhavamasti. Even nobody can explain that at all. How a chetana, shakshi cheta, kevalam nirgunascha, the being I, got associated with body, mind, senses. Body, mind, senses are only instrument in your hands. But we associate ourselves with our body, mind, senses, and any change in the mind, we say that my mind, instead of saying that my mind is irritated, I say I am irritated. Mind getting irritated is not a problem, like body getting hurt, you can apply some balm and getting it all right. But if you think that I am hurt, then you down and out because of that, that is where the problem is. So the whole thing is, the whole discussion of this whole Purva Purusha Siddhanta is, Shastra is trying to explain us what is the Kshetrajna and Kshetra. Kshetrajna is you and Kshetra is body, mind, senses. Your own body, mind, senses, you have there is nothing connecting between you and the Atma and body, mind, senses. Like every other body, mind, senses, every other table, chair, that is the only, how much you are connected with your table and chair. The same way your body, mind, senses. That somehow no philosophy, no religion is able to accept it. Even though it is like daylight, the reality is like daylight. So right now, as we discuss, we are discussing our own body, mind, senses, your own body, mind, senses. But I, the being, which is discussing the body, mind, senses, is discussing the body, mind, senses because it is other than you. Otherwise, how will you discuss? That association has come with so much of association because of avidya, ignorance. We are not able to separate. That is why there is so much of discussion. Kshetrajna, Kshetra, Bhagavan also is explaining. Kshetrajna is you, the reality. And Kshetrajna is everything else, including your own body, mind, senses. If this understanding is very clear, then for such a person he is already a Mukta Purusha because there is nothing to get freed. He is already freedom personification. As Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam, as Chaitanya Swarupat, Shakshi, Cheta, Kevalo, Nirgunasya, right now Purnam, because there is nothing can increase you, nothing can decrease you. For you don't have any limbs, you are not an object, you are not time bound, you are not space bound. And everything that is in space and time you are objectifying. And the very fact you are able to objectify it is because it is bound by time and space. Otherwise you cannot objectify. So, in which time and space? Time and space is in you. You are not in time and space. That's why he says, space, when you are sleeping, space is not there. So, the only time space is not in you, but space is there in everything else. Whereas you give the reality to space. And that is for which the examples are very live example is dream and sleep. In sleep the whole thing goes off and still you are there. Next day morning you say, I slept like a log. But I was there very much. That is why you are able to say, and even you will feel fresh. Next day morning when you sleep like a log, next day morning you feel fresh, more fresh than other days. Because you were very much there. But everything else, Kshetra was not there. Kshetra was really taking rest. Whereas Kshetrajna was there. In dream, only Kshetrajna is there. Even your ego, all your mechanizations you are doing in the dream, only the light. That is why it's called Tejomaya Antakarna Vrittihi, light of consciousness, light of being. Yes, it is there, it is even the body, the fellow who is there in dream, same Prashant who will come in the dream, that fellow also is getting lighted only by that light of consciousness. All mechanism, even the memories, all samskara comes there and plays in the dream. The movie and all, the whole thing, the mountain, the ship, the player, the relative, everyone is lighted by one jyoti, or light of consciousness. That is your reality. And sleep also, that is your reality. Only that in the sleep, even that light you cannot see because your antakarana is not alive. Today morning you see it. But what is subsisting between dream, waking and sleep? There is only one common factor, that is you, the being. That reality is called Kshetrajna.
Actually, many days, Swamiji, on Sundays, I will put a plan on Saturday night. Okay, let us get up at 6:30. Let's do Sandhya Vandanam properly. Let's go to Kabali temple, like that. But what will happen? This is out of personal experience. Many days when I get up on Sunday, it will be 9:30. By the time in my dreams at around 6:30, I would have got up, I would have done Sandhya Vandanam, gone to Kabali Koil, seen Ambal and come back already. But when I get up, I will still be in my bed the same way like how I am on other days. But there have also been some days where I never planned for it, but I would have got up by 6:30 and gone what I wanted to do in the morning. I will decide only in the morning and go for it and come. So, in a way, how does that connect to our Kshetrajna, this thing? I always used to think when I read, it's not concerned with Kshetrajna. What I'm saying, it's sometimes like that. How?
That is basically because what you that is manasika, dream is called manasika ikshana.
Okay.
When you very strongly think that next day morning I should do this, and with that when you go to sleep, that comes in the dream. So it's called manasika ikshana. And that other thing when you get up and do, basically it is not an ikshanam. You give an auto suggest next day morning I will get up at 6:30. You get up at 6:30 and start. Once you get up, you do whatever you think is whatever appropriate to the given situation. So in both the cases, what is being done is only from the mind, body, senses. And in both the cases, the I, the being is the same. There is nothing, no difference. Only that the states are different. Dream, waking, and sleep are different. And every day we are going through all that. So what is changing is waking, dream and sleep. And the very fact what is changing is there, and the dream falsifies the waking falsifies the dream. It means what? You are neither.
Hmm.
Then what is your reality? What subsists all the three? That is you. That is what we are discussing as Kshatriya. So we should not get carried away by what is happening only in the waking, and or what is happening only in the dream, or just because we sleep well and we are peaceful there, we can't be sleeping all the time.
Hmm.
So all the three are. So we have to see the reality. The dream and sleep are the Bhagavan given what is Drishtanta for us to understand the reality of life. Bhagavan himself, you don't have to go for a Drishtanta that is outside. That is why Shastra uses it very well. Both Mandukya Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, everywhere they use the three, the dream state and waking state and sleep state. If you look at them closely, you will understand your reality.
Actually, I asked this question in line of your speech about dream. What is that? Waking state and dream state. I was hearing that video that day from the YouTube channel wherein you are talking about the waking state and dream state. But very clearly it has happened. But this is just a question to like, for example, Swamiji, those days they said Mahapariva, for example, used to sleep at 11 and 12, but 3:30, whatever happens at 3:30, he used to get up. Now, what I'm asking is, even for you, Swamiji, you must be having some specific schedule, like going to sleep by 11:30, getting up by 4:30, like that. Has there been any day for you like this where you also had a dream and you got up late like that? Have you had something like that?
No, I have gone up 5-10 minutes here and there late and all that. I might have slept, overslept and all that.
Okay.
But not as such. For me, actually, I look at there is no like I am always awake. I always awake to the dream.
Okay.
Since it doesn't, I don't recollect the dream as without my knowledge something happening there.
Okay.
Mostly, maybe when you think something and go to sleep, in the early morning you think about it and you get up and all that. Those things happen. But it can happen. It's not necessary. Anyone can have a dream. Is what you call a dream is the waking played out. As I was telling you, manasika akshanam. Like something like people get they go into trance. They see Bhagavan, they say, no, that Shakara Kadapani, I saw that. Now, because Manasika action, very strongly you think about it, it will come in your mind space. So that is precisely what you are, that is called Antakarana Jyoti. Jyoti Swarupam. It is very much there. In all of us, it is very much the Jyoti Swarupam is the only reality. So that can easily, that is why we say that waking falsifies dream, dream falsifies waking. Meditation, whatever you see, manasika akshanam, at that point in time, your waking reality is no use. So, how can you say waking is absolute reality? And all that is happening in waking makes me the person? No. Only reality is the Jyoti Swarupa. That is what that Jyoti Brahmanam, very strong, the Reka Sloki of Bhagavan, Shankara. Everywhere they make it very clear. Jyoti Swarupam is the reality. Jyoti, why it is Jyoti? Because light we easily relate to. Actually, it is not Jyoti as such. It is the conscious being. As I have been always telling that awareful being. It looks very drab when we say awareful being. Jyoti means people imagine something. Just the awareful being. That's it. The being, the reality is the only thing that only we are. Human beings are capable of being alive to that. As we discuss, we must be able to be alive to that reality. And it is possible. Only that we must go through the what you call the Shastra and with that unbiased approach, and we must be able to see what is what in your life happening on a regular basis. That is precisely what I call it as understanding life. So I don't like to use bombastic words.
Got it.
Make it very clear, understand life. Nobody can say, I won't understand life. You may say, I won't understand Shastra, I won't understand anything else, but I cannot say, I won't understand life. So that is precisely what it is. That is what the whole thing is all about. That we do from different angles they approach so that we get it clear. Everyone will come from different background. So something may appeal to somebody, something may appeal not to somebody. That's why Swamiji also gives us so many other examples to make it real for us. Yeah, that's what we should do. Yeah.
The Dvaiti's point of view.
Kshetrajna is same as Drik and Kshetram is same as Drishyam.
Actually, yeah, Drik Drishya Viveka, the Drigeva Natu Drishyate is the Tattvaryam of that Drik Drishya Viveka. Actually, what it says originally is very simple. Here also, Kshetrajna is differentiated from Kshetra, that is field. Everything else, including body, mind, senses, all world is Kshetra and you are the Kshetrajna. And likewise Drik. But later what it does, Drigeva Natu Drishyate, there is nothing called Drishyam, there is only Drig. Meaning, ultimately, Kshetrajna alone is, Bhagavan alone is there. Like for example, right now, when I say, it is, okay, all the three of you are human beings. Okay, we say human being. Okay, how you say? Because you see one person and you give him a certain attribute and say call human being. So anyone who having those sort of attributes is called human being. Because of the attributes, a human being is called human being, and because he is a human being, his attributes are called as human beingness. Okay, so both are anyonya ashraya. If somebody from the what you call an external world, he may not call you a human being. He may call you something else. So this nama and rupa are purely defined by us. It does not have a meaning outside of our mind. So nama rupa is, that is what that Dridisya Viveka also talks about. Asti bhati priyam nama rupam asmat panchakam adyatrayam brahma rupam tatodvayam jagat rupam. Tatodvayam meaning nama rupa. The whole thing is nama rupa is the world. Why nama rupa is because of some rupa, some function, you call it a nama. Like which I mentioned in the article also. How you call a cow? Because of the cowness. How it gets cowness? Because it is cow. So cow has cowness has got cow. So both of them are mutually dependent on each other. So there is no reality as such, except the person who says this is a cow and this is cowness. So you are the only reality. Drigeva Natu Drishyate. Life is nothing but Kshetrajna. Kshetra is just for the time being to differentiate between you and the rest of the. But other than you, there is nothing else. Because without you, there is no world. Like even in dream, it is very much obvious in the dream. And in the sleeping also, when you are sleeping, the world is dead for you. So 25% of the day, the world is dead for you. But you think that our waking world is only world. Whereas 25% of all of us, we live in a very different, purely with Ishvara. Why can't we take that 25% as reality?
Right. Swami, then when Kshetram becomes Kshetrajna, then we can call it is Advaitam. And if they are separate, then it's Dvaitam.
No, you don't have to, it doesn't become anything. It's just a question of understanding, discerning. Once you understand, like he was asking right now, when my something happens in my mind irritated, I get irritated. It's basically, there's nothing like irritation. You give reality to irritation. Your mind, there is a feeling happening. Okay, yes, thought process, thought stimuli, you can say pratiti, which I have said in the article also. That pratiti, even the, what do you call it, one of the understanding life I have mentioned. So, or in the earlier, just recently, last 2 days, Vishukani I have explained, no? Vishukani. I have sent an article. There, everything what we see is only pratiti, only light of being. And that gets converted into pratyaya by name and form. That name and form was given, you have given. Otherwise, there is nothing, not even like, there is nothing called space, time, air, water and all. Water, who has given the name? Water didn't come and say whether it is water. You gave the name as water. And space doesn't come and say I am space. You call it space. So who gives the reality? Kshetrajna. Kshetra is not real by itself. It is not there before, it will not be there later, it appears now. Just because useful. Upalambat Samachara Taprayojanavadvat. That is what Shastra talks about. It is available like empirical. In science you can call it empiricality. Like even in titration you say, no, in the standard temperature and pressure, and the experiment, the tutor also makes the same experiment, get some value. And if it matches your value, you get good marks. Because he knows if he goes and performs the same titration in some other condition, the titer value will be different. So that is why they say standard. Even in university exam, the standard has to be done by the tutor concerned on that particular condition, that particular laboratory. So that is called empiricality. Means what? Empiricality means Svatale Satyavat Bhati. And the next sentence people conveniently forget. Prabodhe Asat. Once you wake up to this reality, everything becomes Asat. Swakale Satyavat appears as real. It was not there before, it will not be there later. Whereas in your case it is not so. You are always there. The being. So only Satyam, Abaditam Satyam is only you. Everything else is Baditam. That's why you cannot even call it real.
Okay.
So that is the reality. Finally we are arriving at Drigeva Natu Drishyate, even there is nothing called Drishya. There is only you, the being, the reality. Appearing in different names and forms called the world.
Cow doesn't know that it is cow.
Huh?
Cow doesn't know that it is cow. We are calling it cow, but the cow doesn't know that it is cow. No.
Since purely the species, we say cow species. How you got cow species? Only because we take one cow and like how many cows are here. One it has got a tulip, one it has got 4 legs, one it has Shantamana eyes. You call it a cow. Okay, and there are many cows like that. Then you call it cow species. So the cow species also got the name from your definition of one cow. And cow, and what has the attributes that belong to the cow is called cowness. And okay, that cowness you apply to every other animal, and you see whosoever has got cowness, they are called cow. Put them all together in one shed, call it cow shed. So the whole thing is your own. It's all for convenience, for transaction purpose. But that is, we also say it is true. Transactionally they are true. Vyavaharically it is true. Not paramarthically, meaning it's not absolute truth. Absolute truth is only you. Because you don't have limbs. Nobody can give you any attributes. The being.
Paramarthika has come from Paramatma.
Yeah, Paramarthika is Paramatma basically. Paramarthika is, Param means ultimate. Param means what? Ultimate. That cannot be improved upon or denied anytime. Abaditam Satyam.
Yeah.
The Dvaiti's point of view, both bondage and moksha are real, therefore Shastra is useful. The Dvaiti dualist denies that they have the same position on this. His argument is this: for the Advaiti, there is no bondage or freedom, both are mithya, and so he can say that the Shastra is useless after moksha. For this person, both states are very real and can therefore be given up or gained. He does not consider that he is being bitten by a rope snake but a real snake, and therefore has to be freed from that. Bondage is to be removed and moksha gained, for which a valid means sadhana is necessary, which is generally considered to be gaining the grace of Ishvara by various forms of prayer, including meditation. And in order to avoid samsara, you have to avoid varieties of adharma, following the injunctions like, may one not hurt, himsam na kuryat,
Visamna Kuryat. Yeah.
or may one not drink alcohol, suram na pibet,
Ramna Pibet.
to avoid gathering papa. On the other hand, you have to gather punya by worshipping Ishvara, doing acts of charity and seva. Thus his contention is that only when all of these are real does the Shastra gain meaningfulness. But the truth is, duality is valid only in Vivahara. It is important to understand that when Shankara uses the word Advaiti, he is not presenting it as another school of thought. Advaya, non-dual, is both knower and known, and therefore it transcends both. This is known through a means of knowledge. It is not something that can be argued against and then rejected or accepted. It's a fact to be seen, known. This is not something you would want to refuse. When the Shastra says that you are Brahman, limitless Ananda, why would you refuse that? This entire duality consisting of knower, knowledge, known, is to be understood as Mithya, drawing their existence therefore from Brahman. They are neither real nor unreal.
See, like Swamiji always used to give a beautiful example which I have told many times. Like, you don't want the idli to be outside.
I didn't get you.
You don't want the idli to be outside.
You don't want?
The idli
Ah.
to be outside. Means what? You want it to be one with you, right?
Yes.
So oneness is your natural pursuit in anything. Idli is a simple example. Anything you take, everything you want it to be yours, because that is ultimately, that is your reality. You look at it as separate because you look at yourself as body, mind, senses. Whereas as reality, there is only one reality. That is why you cannot brook any separation from anything. Because that is the natural. So that is how it is. That is how Advaita is not a philosophy, it's a reality. Whereas everything else is a philosophy. Because you have to philosophize, you have to put crutches. This is how I call it, this is how I call it, this is how I call it, this is how I call it. Namarupa, basically. You have to define it. Whereas reality need not be defined. Reality does not brook any definition. It is just the being. So that is why Advaita is not a philosophy, it is a reality. Everything else is a philosophy or a religion or whatever you call it. School of thought, whatever. Yeah.
Actually, this example you said idli, did you mean to say idli should be inside you, not outside of you? Like that you are telling Swami?
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't like the idli. However nicely you look at the idli and it is nice, till the time it goes into your mouth and you are saying, you don't cherish it, right? It is true for anything. A simple example. Fact is, you want oneness with everything. Even in marriage we say, no, irudal, oruir and all that. That is what Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. That's all. The sense, because that is a reality, not because you are seeking. You are seeking only oneness. But you think that by this person I will become one. By this person, by my being close to this person, I will be a pleased person. By being close to this, I will be a pleased person. By having this car, I will be a pleased person. But so what is ultimately you are interested? The pleased person. And the pleased person is what? Who doesn't ask for anything. As he sees, he must be able to understand that he is Desa Kala Vastu Apurichana. Listen, timeless, spaceless, objectless being. Just be. As it is, must be a happy person all the time, 24 hours, 365 days. And that is cannot be happening by becoming, only by being. Because becoming means it will be there before, it will not be there later. That is called becoming. You don't accept that, no? You don't want that, nobody wants that. So it means what? I have to be. That is your natural quest in life. And only for a human being that quest is given. Because he is supposed to be evolving from that. That is what the only purpose of life. Yeah.
But the truth is, duality is valid only in Vyavahara. It is important to understand that when Shankara uses the word Advaiti, he is not presenting it as another school of thought. Advaya, non-dual, is both knower and known, and therefore it transcends both. This is known through a means of knowledge. It is not something that can be argued against and then rejected or accepted. It's a fact to be seen, known. This is not something you would want to refuse. When the Shastra says that you are Brahman, limitless Ananda, why would you refuse that? This entire duality consisting of knower, knowledge, known is to be understood as Mithya, drawing their existence, therefore, from Brahman. They are neither real nor unreal. One would ask, if the state of bondage for the self and the whole of duality is Mithya, whom is the Shastra going to address and for what purpose? The Kshetrajna is already Ishvara, so Shastra has no subject matter. It cannot even ask you to do a ritual like Agnihotra because there is no Karta, agent to do it, and therefore no enjoyer of the results. There will be no interest in the results, either only from whom bondage and moksha are real states.
No interest in the results either. Yeah.
There will be no interest in the results either. Only for whom bondage and moksha are real states. Shastra is useful. For the one for whom Shastra is mithya, the Shastra is useless.
Samsara is mithya.
For the one for whom samsara is mithya, the Shastra is useless because there is no subject matter. Samsara is mithya. For the one for whom samsara is mithya, the Shastra is useless because there is no subject matter. What do you mean by that? Samsara?
Samsara is not real. Samsara, mithya means what? Not real.
Not real.
Vyavahara. Vyavahara only. Samsara means what? Samsarati. Changes. Changing is called mithya. When I don't have a value for the changing, I accept the changes as changing because changes is my reality. So, Shastra is going to keep telling your reality is changeless and changing is mithya. So, the period, thereafter, once you understand that, understanding is clear, changing you will allow all the changes to happen, whatever you can contribute, will contribute. And you will understand that you are changeless, so you are happy. So, your all the freedom is already achieved. That's it. That's what he says. He doesn't have any subject matter. Yeah.
Shankara answers in reply to this. Shankara at first dismisses the argument that both bondage and moksha are real and then shows how the Shastra is useful to us. There is no tenability of Atma being subject to different states like bondage and liberation because if there were, they would have to obtain in the Atma either simultaneously or successively. Because bondage and liberation are opposed to each other, it is not possible for them to exist simultaneously in the Atma. Either the self is bound or free, but not both. If it is argued that the self has these two states not simultaneously but successively, we must ask whether the change in state from bondage to liberation is due to a cause. If there is no cause, either external or internal, but something that takes place naturally, there will be no moksha. This is so because bondage also takes place without any reason. If moksha is dependent upon a cause other than itself, moksha becomes mithya. Mithya, as we have seen, is that which has no reality of itself. The duality cannot say that it is acceptable to him because his whole argument is dependent upon...
The dualist cannot say that it is acceptable to him.
The dualist cannot say that it is acceptable to him because his whole argument is dependent upon both bondage and freedom being real. In accepting this, he negates his original stand and accepts mithya. We say both bondage and moksha are mithya because Atma is already free and has always been free.
See, understand this. See, what he says, the dualist cannot say that it is acceptable to him because if, in the sense, he also wants, he accepts bondage and he wants to become free. That means what? Bondage can be changed. That means he also accepts bondage is mithya. Because he himself says that he wants to be freed from bondage. That means what bondage is mithya. And he wants to be freed from bondage means when he was in bondage he was not free. That free also is advantageous. That means that is also mithya. So the way in which he has explained that bondage and moksha is very clear that it is mithya for him also. Only that he doesn't understand, doesn't put it in the proper format. Even though he wants to be free from bondage, he wants to become free from bondage. That becoming is the problem. Because if you become free from bondage, you will again become bound. Because what happens and comes in time will go out in time. What goes up comes down. So, the very fact, the way they define also, it is that the moksha which they are talking about is impossible. Because they say that today they are bound, tomorrow they will become free. What is the guarantee day after you will not become bound again? So what comes goes, what goes up comes down. So the only way moksha is possible is this all the time. You are never bound. That is what is Advaita.
Okay.
We'll stop here, Swamiji.
Yeah, we can do that.
So we will again read from Shankara answers, or we will...
Yeah, otherwise you can complete this para from next para. We'll start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Complete the paragraph.
Where was
He
it?
said both bondage and moksha are mithya. From there you start.
In accepting this, he negates his original stand and accepts mithya. We say both bondage and moksha are mithya because Atma is already free and has always been free. There seems to be bondage as long as you have ignorance of this fact. Therefore, gaining moksha is also mithya because moksha is not gained. When the ignorance which is also mithya is removed, the bondage which is also mithya is gone and there is moksha. The removal of the apparent bondage is purely the removal of ignorance by means of knowledge.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Actually,
What is the
Swamiji,
next,
here and all, I feel you are explaining the concept well before we get to that paragraph in the next.
Since the whole, in the preamble itself, Shankara has told very clearly. Kshetrajna, unless it is understood as Desakala Vastu, as the being, the reality, that is how Kshetrajna can be understood. Then only all this is what he has written. Shankara himself has said that. Because he is dealing with the Purva Puruša at this stage in time, where they were all Shastrakaras and they are all, it is not the, what we call, they are not idly arguing. They are trying to make everything very clear. They want to remove all the other possibilities other than your reality. For that, the whole world has to be, whatever our transactional world is there, it has to be told as Bhaditam. And automatically, what is Abhaditam is Satya. So you nobody has to, only that the what do you call, the samsari Atma becomes a samsari Atma. The Atma remains the same. The samsaritvam goes, that's all.
Okay.
Samsaritvam is a, what do you call, imagined attribute of yourself. And imagine you can't say, because imagining generally we look at a movie or a dream or something. Whereas this is Janmadi Janmam imagination. So that is why it's called a beautiful name called Samskara. For Janmas we have been carrying on. So in Hindi also there is one saying, Kumar may be knowing, Rato ki both, Bato se nahi manega. Kumar, you have heard that?
Yes, Swamiji, yes.
Last, something very strong Pishasu, yeah. But Pishasu will not go away if it is a very strong Pishasu. Unless you use the broomstick. Mandarvadi and all people would have heard. Some mild Pishasu will go with only medicine. Whereas Tulka Pishasu will go only by broomstick. So our Pishasu is like that, our samsara is like a Pishasu, but Janma we are breaking it. So it needs lot of discussion to take it out of the system.
They will always come with the broomstick.
Muslims. Don't take it outside. You are in a dangerous place.
Yeah. We are not on social media.
If you ask any astrology from them, people try to get beating from the broomstick.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om